You're the God of this city. You're the king.
Dude, so check this out. I'm on my run and I saw this on the pavement. It says, love your city. And I honestly never thought that I'd be in a city and I would be loving it. But I do love Boston. I really, really do. And I just feel I'm just really blessed. God is so good. So, yeah. What city do you live in? And I pray that you would love your city as well. To continue our tour of Boston, I'm on the Longfellow Bridge, and we are watching the sunset. I just love Boston. Isn't this beautiful? Check it out. And there's Cambridge. And here comes the subway. That's the red line. Going across the top of the bridge. This is called the Longfellow Bridge, or the Salt and Pepper Bridge. If you can see those two towers, they look like salt and pepper shakers. And the moon in the background. So yeah, I love this city! Woo!
You're the hope to the hopeless. You're the peace to the restless. You are.
I want to give you a perspective that I have of Boston. I think Boston is a very significant city on the globe. I think it's one of the smallest world-class cities of power in the nations. That's why I think it's pretty awesome. Boston's really small for the level of significance that it has. See, it's to be a training ground. It was founded to be a city on a hill and a light for the nations. The purpose of Boston and God's economy is to be a training ground, and that's why there are so many universities here. But its goal is to be a training ground for the kingdom of God. That's why you're here. Lay hold of what God has for you here, because it really only has one purpose, I think, Boston. It's to train you to be able to live in the kingdom of God and to take it anywhere in the nations. But with that, there comes difficulty, and some of the difficulties actually escalate as you come to know Jesus better. Because it's kind of like a boot camp. It's kind of like Paris Island for the Marines. It's always a training ground. The only ones who can stay here in the kingdom of God are those who want to be trainers. And it's never going to be an easy city to live in if you're a believer. Because you're in a training ground. You're not on every city has its own call. This is not Atlanta. This is not LA. You can just feel it. When I say a city, you get a feel for what it's like. But I'm telling you what Boston is. And so it's important to understand that, because particularly if there's a call of God on your life, you will face hardship in Boston. And I want you to know that is God's doing, even if it is demonic forces. God is above it to use it for your training. This is a training ground, academically, emotionally, and spiritually. And nobody gets out without having to face training. So when that hardship comes, you need to be able to interpret it as for your building, for your strengthening. Because the things that you learn here will be effective anywhere on the planet, but things from other places may not be effective here. So the kinds of things that you will have to learn here is real humility, not fake humility. And it's real faith, not claiming it, but not believing it. You have to find your measure of real faith. And it will be real relationship. You cannot function as a believer in Boston in isolation. You will die. You have to be related to other people. But see, those very principles are the principles of how the kingdom works everywhere. You just have to learn them here. You cannot exist here and not live that way. But when you lay hold of it, I tell you, spiritually, you can go anywhere in the world and learn to adapt.